Okay, calling the meeting to order, 6:30 p.m. We have no Moody, we have no Roth. Everyone else is here. So now it's time to open the open forum. You guys are on the agenda, so unless you want to come forward and make a statement otherwise. Seeing no one else, close the open forum, move on to the consent agenda. So typical three things on the consent agenda: approval of the agenda, approval of the meeting minutes, and the payment of bills. If there's something you'd like to pull, please say so now. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, so we have a variance. So why don't you guys come up here? We might want to ask you some questions. We have a variance for the Cadwell property. It looks like we're going to be building a deck on the back side of the house, and that's going to be extending 5 feet into the setback. Is that correct? Tim?
Yeah.
Tim,
That is right, and the planning commission did hold the public hearing. There were no members of the public present. We also received no comments from the public that were submitted to the planning commission. Planning commission did vote to support the request on a unanimous vote, and we are thankful that we have a full complement of planning commission members, because we needed everybody to make the quorum at our last meeting. So you have the plan in the packet showing the location of the deck to the rear of the home. Basically, it abuts a wooded area.
Yeah, so there's wooded area on the back side, and there's a fence back there, correct?
There will be a fence.
Will be a
The
fence.
fence is permitted, so that's in the zoning
Gotcha.
application, and the variance is simply for the deck because it encroaches on the back setback.
Gotcha. But it's wooded back there, and there's no, development right on the property line there. So,
No, and the other thing, if you look at this picture, you can barely see it, but you can see that there's actually a utility easement that separates the two properties
Yep.
there. So the 20-foot setback to the property line still leaves that 20-foot buffer between the two properties. And
gotcha.
if the property went straight down the line, we'd have plenty of room to do this without requesting the variance in the first place.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. All right. So, does anybody have any other questions for these two, or any other considerations to consider?
I would make motion to approve the request.
There's a motion to approve. This is
Actually, the resolution.
Resolution 2018-12. So that's a motion to approve that. Is there a second?
I would second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I appreciate that clarification about the public utility right away. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, thanks
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next thing we have are the liquor license applications. So those in your packet there's a couple of considerations here. So they're all for the American Legion Post 413. So that's not different from what it used to be. One of these applications is not different than it used to be. That's the one for the Fisherman's Picnic beer tent right next to Marais. So that one is not different. There are two that are different, however. One for 4th of July and one for Fisherman's Picnic. And that they're proposing to put a beer tent on city property in Boulder Park, on the beach there, to I'm assuming to sell beer while the fireworks are going on and stuff like that. We're talking about enclosing a 60 square foot area for the beer tent, and they'll set everything up. They'll take everything down. 2 tents of approximately 10 by 10 feet. For the beer distribution. They've got all their insurance in place. So basically, the question that we need to answer is, or we need to talk about, is whether or not we want to allow a beer tent in Boulder Park for the 4th of July and for fish pick, and I wish that somebody had showed up because
Say,
the dates
the
of the
representatives are not
the
here.
dates of the event on the
The first one's not right.
the first one is not right because it says the dates of the event is July 26th to the 28th of 2018, and that doesn't seem right. So to me, it seems. I mean, I think that we can figure that one out. I'm not worried about that part. But what I would like to ask the council for is your perspective on the sale of intoxicating liquors, or beer. It's yeah. The license says intoxicating liquor service. For the sale of beer in that space, in addition to having it at another location. For 4th of July, they're not going to be doing the beer tent next to the Marais. They are just going to be doing this one. And for Fish Pick, they'll have both of them.
So this was brought to the attention of the park board at the
Okay.
last meeting, and they did have a representative from Grand Marais there.
Okay, so tell us what they
So-
said.
It is the 4th of July, but then it runs the rest of the week as well. And so it's not just a one-day thing. It is like the 4th, 5th, and 6th. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe even a Saturday. So it's a long stretch on the 4th of July, is what we were told.
Did you see, I mean, this, the dates of the event, you didn't see this application though, you just had somebody coming and chatting with you about it?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
because if you saw this application, then you could point out that the dates are wrong.
Right.
Okay.
And did they have hours that they were going to?
Yeah, and so it was, originally, they wanted, I think it was noon to 1,
1 a.m.
so like bar time.
Okay.
And a couple, we talked about it for quite a while just because the span of days. And we're thinking, chances are that Thursday, I mean, it's kind of an odd time to
Mhm.
be having a beer tent after the 4th of July.
Right.
But ultimately, we did approve it to come to council for us to discuss it. But there was one nay, and the main thing was just that it's starting at noon every day. And it just seems like a pretty long event to be there every day. Just kind of as a fixture in Harbor Park,
Yeah, I get
or
that.
Boulder Park.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna set it up for 3-4 days though, I mean, it's gonna be there whether they're using it or not.
Right. And another comment was that typically on the 4th, there is a lot of litter and waste around the parking lot of the Point, because a lot of people congregate there, and they're thinking this may kind of
Consolidate
corral
it.
and consolidate it there. They're gonna do all their own garbage, all their own cleanup, and so it might focus a lot of that garbage and litter, at least alcohol waste, into that fenced off area. So that's a potential bonus of it.
So we're talking the area that's got the boulders, it's the parking lot.
On the lake side of the
Basically
boulders.
across
lakeside.
from Sydney's, right?
Yep, but on the
Yeah.
lake side of the boulders, and where it's that flat, kind of pebbly grass area.
Behind the trees?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
So
here, I
we're
can
not
show you.
losing that parking lot?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, I got
can
it.
show you.
So
mean, you-
how, okay.
So they're
Yeah,
talking-
I guess I have some reservations about this, just in the sense that
Oh, look at
it
you.
seems like for this
This
prolonged
area.
period, it's not just an event, it's really kind of almost like a business setup in the park that we're giving
We're
some kind of
talking-
preferred treatment to. I mean,
Yeah.
I could certainly see it,
With-
the potential for doing this as part of an event, but I guess I feel a little hesitant about just giving a 4-day permit to operate from noon till 1 a.m. That seems like that we're really doing something other than what we've done in the past. And I mean, I can only recall one other time that we've granted a permit for a beer license or, you know, a liquor license down on city property, and that was maybe
Mhm.
10 years ago, or might not even been that long ago, that I think Gunflint Tavern had a beer tent in Harbor Park, but
And this is a fundraiser for the American Legion. So, off the top of my head, I don't know what the price, the cutoffs were, but up to a certain point, the Legion gets 100% of profits, and after that, then it's like a 70-30 split. So the point of this is to raise money for the American Legion.
Do you know what kind of tent fencing, I would assume they're providing people to?
Did not say anything about tents,
Be sponsored.
just fencing.
Well, this
And it's
says,
very-
this says fencing
Mhm.
60 by 60, so I'm assuming that they'll probably use something like snow fencing, like the
Mhm.
orange snow fencing, that's what's
Mhm.
been used in the past. And then the 10 by 10 tents, like, if I'm interpreting that properly, those are probably just those pop-up tents. They're 10
Where they
by
would
10
serve under.
that they can serve under.
Yeah.
I agree with Tim that I think that it's a really long period of time. I honestly don't, I mean, unless they have hardly any expense for it, I find it hard to believe that they're gonna be super successful with that, for that long of a period of time. But you know, that's also not my business to say whether or not they're gonna be successful. Now, it's our job to figure out whether or not we view that this is in conjunction with the use of public, you know, that public park. And it sounds like the park board said yes, with some dissent, to the applications as they're presented. So that, with that said, you know, I trust the park board to make good decisions about the use of park space. I do still have that nagging feeling about having it be for so long,
Mhm.
you know, and yeah, because that, you know, they say they want it for 4 days.
Yeah, it's 4th of July on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mhm.
so it was
Which-
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
which wouldn't, which isn't that much different from when they set up the tent next to Marais, because they set that up for 4 days, but that's also on their property. That's not.
It's
No,
Bucks.
that's
That's on
Buck's
Buck's property.
property.
Well, it's on Buck's property, but they have it's not city property. I
Mhm.
guess is what I'm.
But that's also part of an event, that
Mhm.
whole period of time that the tent is up, it is an event that's going on, and, you know, I mean, there is no event going on, it's just we're giving somebody the permit to set up business on city land.
So with that in mind, then let's put 4th of July aside. Let's talk about that a little bit later. Fish pick, Boulder Park, 4 days. Beer
I mean,
tent. Does that bother you in a
Not
different way?
at all, no, I think that, you know, that's historically been well-received in the community.
Yeah, but they've never done it in Boulder Park. You know, they've never set up a beer tent in Boulder Park.
No,
Yeah.
no, that hasn't happened,
Mhm.
but the fish pick, or you talk about the fish pick time for Boulder
Fish
Park?
pick time for Boulder Park. Yeah, because that.
They'll have two
Yeah.
tents going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with that occurring at Fisherman's Picnic. I mean, again, it's part of the festivities, and, you know, there's a lot of other street activity going on. I'm just uncertain about the 4th of July, and just in the sense that it's a longer period of time, and there really isn't an event surrounding that. It's
Right.
just that, you know, we're giving them license to run their business on city property for that period of time.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the use of city property, it's that it's not attached to an event and something that we're trying to promote. I mean, if somebody else came along and wanted to set up a beer tent down there on a different weekend, you know, are we gonna be opening ourselves to creating a policy by, you know, by process that we might not wanna do?
I think that's fair.
Mhm.
What, Jonathan, did anybody on the park board ask them why they want to have the 4th of July one there and not in the parking lot adjacent to Marais?
Not specifically.
Because that, you know, it seems like that takes a lot of the trouble out of the request.
Maybe they were talked to the business owner and that was not an option that was available.
It's possible. I mean,
I mean, I don't
I
know,
don't know.
I mean,
but that, it is someone else's property
Right.
there. But I guess I'm with the rest of you. I have reservations about, I mean, their business days, basically. Wednesday's the holiday. Thursday, Friday are work days. I know we have people milling about downtown, but I also know that establishments open at 11. If people really want to do that, we don't, because no one's here specifically, we don't know. I know it's a fundraising thing, but then are we going to allow people to open it up every
Yeah.
weekend, like you
I can see
said?
that'd be a problem.
If people say, hey, I want to do this fundraiser, I'm not quite sure they say a beer and wine garden. I don't know if that means they'll have hard alcohol or not.
No, they can't. They can only do beer and wine.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess
can't have
I'd be
full bar.
inclined to allow it for the 4th of July. Extending beyond that, I don't know that I'm very comfortable with it right now.
So the same kind of reason being the extending that holiday weekend without having it be attached to anything.
Well, again, it's
in
extending its
particular.
business days. I think that adds more. Parking's a real issue coming downtown.
Mhm.
So somehow to add into that parking over there for people who have businesses on that side of town, and maybe that seems silly of me, but there's just so much congestion down here already trying to move about, and people that, for the days that we don't really need, people are gonna be coming to do errands to businesses that are open, and now are gonna struggle maybe possibly more, maybe not, maybe people won't even recognize it's there. I don't know if it's behind the trees on the beach. That's
I think
kind of,
plenty of people see
kind
it.
of an out of the spot way.
Did they say anything about having like music or entertainment there?
Nope.
No. So it
No,
just
there was not going to be live music.
okay. Well, that makes it a little bit of an easier conversation too.
Because that was one of my thoughts, you know, late night on a couple weeknights in a row.
Yeah.
That would not go over well.
Yeah, that I was kind of concerned about that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that if we were gonna open up city property to businesses asking for permission to use them on non-event times, I think we need to have a clear policy on how we would do that, to
Right.
make that publicly known, rather than just reacting to an application and saying yes or no. I mean, at this point, I would say no to special use of that other than for event
Mhm.
times.
So here's where we're at then, because what I'm gathering is that 2 of the 3 are cool. There's one that's problematic. So we have this meeting, and then the next meeting that we have is on June 27th, which
Mhm.
is not very far
I
ahead
think before.
of that conversation, and I really wish that somebody had shown up, because then we could get a lot of these questions answered right now. Because my questions are, have you considered doing it next to the building, instead of having it out on city land? And just to talk to them about some of their expectations about it. Because I definitely don't want to deny them a fundraiser for the Legion. Like, that's pretty obvious. But I agree with what you two have said about, you know, this is something that we probably should spend some more time thinking about, and or create some kind of an expectation for future requests, so that we can so that we don't get stuck with the precedent of having a beer tent set up every weekend, just rotating amongst the ones that have liquor insurance.
Yeah, well, even I'm even uncertain as to, what happens next year if somebody comes in and asks for permission to use that same space for Fisherman's Picnic. I mean, how do we decide who gets priority for use of that space or for public, lands? Because we offered it to one, organization. Are there other organizations that might?
That would wanna jump on that?
Have an interest in doing that, and how, I think we'd have to have a clear idea of how we want to allow city-owned land to be used, without, not that I'm against what they're proposing to do, I just think that we need to be clear about what it is that we're getting ourselves into, and not find ourselves having to backtrack, whether it's this year or next year or whatever, to explain to others why they don't have that opportunity, or if they came in and asked, what would we say to them?
Yeah, the irony of this is that the one that we're having trouble with is actually I think miswritten in the date as well. So, I don't really know, it seems like there's enough reason for us to kind of push that one off to the next meeting, so that we can have somebody here to explain it, and so they can correct that if that's incorrect. Because if we approve this right now, then it's gonna be for July 26th through the 28th. And that's not, that, I don't even know what days that is.
It's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. My nephew's birthday is July 28th. It's a Saturday.
And they said when they came to the park board that it was the 5th, 6th, 7th.
Well, it-
4th, 5th,
yeah.
6th, and 7th.
Seventh, that's Saturday.
And in the narrative, it says in conjunction with the 4th of July celebration, so there is inconsistency.
Mhm.
Well, and this would also indicate 3 nights. Jonathan's indication is possibly 4. So,
Yeah, I think we need to, I think that it would be appropriate for us to ask the questions about that, to bring that final one back at the next meeting, and then we can move forward with the 2 that we feel comfortable with. That's not gonna give them a ton of time to mobilize.
well, they could have been here tonight to explain it.
Yeah, but it's also, I think that it's in our best interest to spend some more time thinking about that, and also to actually get from them the correct information for what they're requesting. So
I will make a motion that we approve the Fisherman's Picnic dates, both for the parking lot owned by Buck's Hardware and Boulder Park. That we will, at this time, deny the, I will say the 4th of,
we just don't
deny
even
that we, yeah, that
we just don't
we'll-
have to take it up. We can take
Right.
it up next time.
So I'll motion that we pass.
You would
the
want to
other-
postpone until the next meeting.
Okay,
You'd wanna-
yep. So I will motion that we pass those 2 and postpone until, if the American Legion wants to come back at the next meeting or give us more information.
Thanks, Chris. There's a motion. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second the motion. I
Okay.
do have a couple other questions. That's with regard to the Fisherman's Picnic use of Boulder Park. The times that they, again, we're talking Thursday through
Sunday.
Sun-
The second is Thursday.
Thursday, 4th, 5th. Yeah, so they'd be closing
Thur-
down on Sunday the 5th.
Thursday through Sunday. And that is also from noon till 1 AM? It doesn't state the times on there.
Right.
And again, I'm not certain that it's in our best interest to have an off-site location that operates till 1 AM. I don't know if law enforcement has weighed in on this at all, but
He had talked to Pat Elias, and he said that he was for it, and
Who came to your
I'm
meeting?
forgetting his name.
Is it Terry?
I think so.
Terry Breithaupt?
I think so.
Terry usually comes to our,
Mhm.
like when he's
But
usually the one.
he had discussed it with Pat, and he seemed that it wouldn't be too much of an extra burden.
Yeah, for those weekends, there's plenty of burden already. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
yeah, I want to make sure that it's clear in here that they would provide for all, waste
Waste
removal
removal.
and, litter that is left behind on that site. And I don't expect them to pick up the whole harbor, but, anything that's kind of surrounding that area. If somebody walks off the site or
We can
cups
say,
or whatever are blowing outside of their,
we can say that they're responsible for returning Boulder Park to a clean
Condition which
clean
they found it.
condition, or
Mhm.
condition, better, as good as or better than they found.
and then
No, they
I would
say-
like us to also consider future uses of the park and actually try to sit down and develop a policy that, would be able to be something that we can give to nonprofits that might want to come in and do something like this
Right.
again. I mean, I don't want to be reinventing the process every time we do it.
Correct.
Or, and again, recognize that this is a one-time deal that doesn't obligate us to do anything again in the future. We're going to weigh how it works and.
Mhm. I think it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for that conversation to start at the park board. Or like for the
Yeah,
drafting.
I think the park board has their issues in the use of city-owned land or parklands, but I also think that the council has responsibility in a larger sense to set a policy for how we might grant a permit such as this.
Right.
I mean,
And I
it's
guess
not
what I
the
was
park
saying
board
is
that's-
that it would be great if we could get the park board's input into how something like that could be written. That, because the park master plan shows how the park space is supposed to be used.
Mhm.
And they're the ones who, are the keepers of the park master plan, more or less. So, we could also look at the park master plan and say, hey, this is what we interpret it as, and make sure that the park board agrees. But it just seems cleaner to have them send something up to us that says, these are our thoughts on that, and if we disagree, then we can always kind of send it back to committee, so to speak, but,
I had one other comment about Fisherman's Picnic is the Lions Club event, and I don't know if they were informed or talked to at all about this being another piece.
oh, as a part of the Lions Club?
As a part of Fisherman's Picnic that the Lions Club hosts, and that we give them the street and sidewalk permit for, most of the downtown
Mm-hmm.
area.
I see. So your question is whether or not the Lions Club knows that this is occurring in conjunction with their event? That's a good question.
I mean, I don't know, is this a decision that needs to be made tonight, or, the 4th of July issue, it seems like we're not so inclined on that, but if it's Fisherman's Picnic, could we hold off until next month and have them come before us
And clarify?
clarify some of these issues, and if you're right, if it's the Lions Club event, and have they talked to the Lions Club? Yeah.
Well, we have a motion on the second, so we're gonna have to vote on it eventually. So then we can either vote, or you can withdraw your motion. I mean, there's a couple of options we have there, to move it forward. If you feel like we should vote on it, then we can certainly do that. And then whatever the outcome of that is, then we'll deal with it. Or if you feel like we need some more time, then you could withdraw your motion, or, I think those really are the only two options. We can't continue having a discussion forever on this. I mean, we could try, but,
So I actually think there are some questions, and I don't know if maybe Chris could, I'm sure it's okay, but we have the American Legion, who's the organization asking for this, but they're using it under the insurance plan of Grand Marais. That's all okay?
it should be fine.
It's always been okay. That's how I've done it in the
Okay,
past.
all right. I guess since we have so many questions and some unknowns, and I apologize, I would like to withdraw my motion.
That's fine. We can do that. We don't
Um,
take any,
I would certainly like to have a discussion with them and have more questions answered and revisit this with them.
yeah. So then we can just, we can reach out to them and just say we have questions, we want them at the next meeting,
Mhm.
and we can bump this back. And in the meantime, I think that this conversation was really helpful, and it gives them a platform on which to begin when they come to chat with us. You know, like, these are a lot of our concerns
Can
and
they
questions.
read-
Can they answer it?
Can they redo this application to then have the correct dates on it for us?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wonder if you would want to do the normal fish pick application, at least they can get that started.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, I would make the motion to approve the Fisherman's Picnic permit for the use of Buck's parking lot under the terms that we've normally granted for that.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, so we will reach out to them and we will tell them they should come and chat with us a little bit more about the rest of that stuff. Moving right along. So we have in front of us a letter from our trustee contractors up at the Public Works Facility in the Goff Construction. They did a pretty good job of laying out the timeline for this project. The Public Utility Commission has been interested in putting some solar on the roof of the Public Works Facility. The roof was designed for that. 50 kilowatts is what has been proposed for on the roof. 2 bids came back. Five requests went out. 2 came back. One was for Energy Concepts Incorporated, the other from Hunt Electric. Energy Concepts had the low bid for what we were looking at. It seems like McGough believes that they are both able to complete the project. So the amounts are on this little sheet right here. And so we're talking a little bit under $140,000 for 50 kilowatts of solar. This has all been vetted out and approved by SIMPA, or an arrangement has been vetted out by SIMPA so that we can basically sell the electricity to them and then buy it back, because we're in a buy all sell all with them. And yeah, so now we're looking for an approval of these bids or further discussion on the implementation of a photovoltaic system.
I would make a motion to approve the bid award to Energy Concepts for $139,818.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Good second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, just that
Aye.
this has long been in the works. Public Utilities has been, having these conversations for well over 2 years. In fact, since we started the design of the Public Works garage, and this is kind of the last stage of completion of the Public Works garage facility. So, I think this is something that's been anticipated, and budgeted. Something I think will be good for the community.
Okay.
What do we get back for this $140,000 investment?
So, this is going to take a sec for me to put my brain around this one so I can explain it right. We are going to be producing 50 kilowatts of electricity with these, which then SIMPA is going to buy back from us for an amount of money. I can't remember exactly what that amount is, but it's less than what we, it's about the same as what we buy electricity from them for, so it's going to be like a wash. But then we own the infrastructure, so after our contract expires, then we get the free energy at the city level.
Yeah,
Does that sound right?
It is, and I don't remember what the payback, the number of years for payback is, but it still turns out to be, I think, a good deal for the city public utilities. And that
I thought it was like a 14-year payback or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's
14 years?
Yeah.
We're investing $140,000, it's gonna take 14 years to get it back?
Well, we're spending $4.5 million on a public works facility. We're never going to get back. The idea of investing.
Sometimes you gotta have things to save things, but
Right.
Well, and then after that, you know, we have the ability to take the energy that's produced, and that becomes, you know, income to the public utilities.
And that,
so-
again, that's my question is, what will we get back for $140,000 is a fair investment? So that's just my question is, what are we, again, I'm a finance person, so tell me
Right.
what we're getting back.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers in my.
You know, George
my
would be
head.
the guy to talk to about that.
Well,
George
Mike
Wells.
would even have that information too, I mean.
And I've been in on the conversations. I was in on the conversations at the earlier stages of it. I haven't been in on them up to this point. But I know that what we worked out with Simpo was a pretty good buy sell relationship based on what we were expecting. Like we were kind of expecting that they would want to buy the electricity for super cheap and then sell it back to us at regular rate. And basically what they're doing is they're buying it from us at a higher rate than we thought and selling it back to us at a cheaper rate than we thought. So all the electricity that we produce here is just going to go straight on the grid, and then that's going to be consumed largely by folks here in Grand Marais. And that's a statement, and it's also a statement that's going to pay itself back, and over the 25 to 30 year lifespan of the solar project is predicted to be cash positive for about, what would it be like, up to a half of that lifespan.
I guess I'd really like to see some of the numbers and figures. You know, we got this today, so I
Mhm.
kind of feel like it would be nice to have some more information.
So what was the life cycle? You said approximately 30 years?
25 to 30
25.
years,
The
yeah.
panels, I think, have about a 30-year life cycle.
So you pay it off in 14, and then you have 10 years where you reap the benefits financially, and then do it over again.
And again, that would be a question is, how much are we reaping?
Well, this is about 10,000 a year, if that's the payoff. In electricity, it'd be about $10,000 a year
Mhm.
that we'd be selling.
I mean, it's certainly not a large portion of the electricity that we purchase from Simpa. It's, you know, very small portion, obviously, so.
I just would like to see some of those numbers.
I'm trying to see if I've got anything in my computer for this. I'm not sure that I do. But
I think it's good that it's a 14-year payback
no, that's
timeframe.
that's what I remember from the
Mhm.
from
So
the
you're not
earlier
certain of
conversations.
that.
I just I feel pretty comfortable with that statement, but I also want to make sure that everybody understands that was a conversation that we had before this bid came back.
But with these, if you were to do it in a way that the payback time frame was as long as the life cycle, then it's a wash, but you're getting clean energy. So you're not paying any extra, but it's from a clean place.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I view this as, I get what you're saying, you know, this is a big investment. I
Mhm.
also view this as an investment in the future of energy production. Like, I know that we're gonna have to go this direction eventually, for energy production on a much larger scale than just 50 kilowatts. And I also know that this would be a great big step forward for the climate action plan progress that we've committed to doing. And we'll hopefully open the door for a lot of other renewable projects, both private and public. So,
Sure. I guess I just would really like to see numbers. Just, it's hard for me to make a decision on something that I don't have more information in front of me
and
about.
I'm sure we can
You know,
get that
So-
stuff
Yeah,
done.
I mean, certainly if you contact Mike, he can get you the detailed information on those payback numbers and, you know.
Yeah, I just don't have that. I don't have that information right. right on my computer. So there we are. So we have a motion and a second. We had some discussion. Is there any further discussion?
When would these be installed?
I believe that the timeline was for this summer, fall, like later this summer.
This year.
Into the fall, yeah, this year.
Yeah, there was nothing, we didn't see the bid information with regard to the timelines.
Well, it said that there would be a timeline on here, but it's not.
There-
on
there-
here.
there isn't. But it's anticipated would happen, this construction season.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else? Any other comments? Thoughts, concerns? I thank you for bringing that up, and I do think that if, like in the future, I think it would be in our best interest to have all that information.
Well, I do, and my thought is that
Ready.
I think there's already a motion and a second, so I don't know if it wants to be tabled or postponed to next time, but I would like to see that information before making a total decision, but that's,
Yeah,
You know.
who made it? You made the
I made the
motion?
motion.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel comfortable enough with the conversations that have happened at the public utilities to accept the bid and move this forward.
You're also
yeah.
the rep on the public utilities, right?
I am.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
I mean, we've had considerable discussion about this and have kind of talked it forward and backwards to figure out how to make this work, and this seemed like it was the best alternative. It was unanimously supported by PUC. I mean, I don't have any problem moving this forward.
Okay,
And
So-
I understand that you want to have more information. I think you should get that, but I feel comfortable moving this along.
yeah, and I think that, the information, when you get that information, it'll explain a lot, and you'll probably still have some questions. Because I know that it took me a while to understand the nature of the arrangement, the simple PUC arrangement, but I think that it's the direction that we need to move in, this personally, but that's just personally. So, anyway. Okay, closing comments on this one? A motion to approve, that we didn't actually get a resolution for this one, we just approved the bid. So we're gonna approve the bid for Energy Concepts, that's what the motion is for. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
Motion carries. And we will get you that information. Okay, so we are back up to council and staff reports unless you have anything else to add. Okay, council and staff reports. Jonathan, you're up.
Okay, park board meeting was last week, and following up on our previous council meeting on the tree vandalism, we did discuss that.
Oh, people's ripping, oh yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And I had the bike down there and looked at it, and it's pretty gross. And a few of the park staff was aware of the damage there. One thing they're doing is there's going to be a new sign on the trailhead. Originally this summer they were going to make a new trailhead sign that shows a better path route, like the map just looks better. But they are going to add some wording about, leave the wilderness the way it was when you found it, or something to that extent. Also in the camper packs that they get when everyone checks in, they changed some of the wording in there as well on their environmental impact section. And also the staff there, they do walk that trail once or twice a day just as part of the maintenance and patrolling the park. And so they're just going to keep a better eye out to see if anything looks suspicious. And that's for that issue. We kind of figure that's about all we can do. is just keep monitoring it and put up some more alerts, signage for people to hopefully get one last little note in their head before they walk in the woods. And so,
I'm
But-
glad you guys followed up on
yeah,
that.
everyone is aware of it and on board and wants to see it remedied. The golf course is up and running. It's in a little rough shape, but it's getting better every day as the effects of the winter still
Hanging on.
tailing off. He did get the new mower, and has not paid for it yet because it has some issues. Like it was fully refurbished according to the ad, but there's casters that are missing some bearings, and so he's working with Turfworks, which is where we got it from.
Okay.
And they've been good in the past, honoring their fully refurbished guarantee on their machines. So they're working to get it up to what's acceptable, and then we can accept it.
Wow.
So
Well, kudos to them for checking it out thoroughly when they
Yep.
get it to make sure that it's actually up to snuff.
yeah, he went through it in good detail, and the major components look good. It's just all the minor rollers, everything that keeps it smooth, are pretty rough.
Well,
So,
that's ironic because
it's a rough mower.
part of the reason that we. I see what you did there. Part of the reason that we wanted to buy this one is because our old one was kind of in a similar
Right.
situation. So
But he's working through those, and he's got the full work crew hired up. Everyone's going up there. And we had a few campers at the meeting as well, with sharing similar concerns about our recently converted boat launch that was the boat launch in the marina that got eroded and washed out.
Right.
So we put in a dock. And there are some campers with smaller, like 16-foot boats that really liked using that launch. And currently, the main launch, or the DNR launch, is about, it's only 50% operable because one of those docks is washed out, and so it's really difficult to back a trailer in. So the DNR, they are gonna repair the main launch, down by the pound there.
On the west side.
Yep. But I think the memo to Dave was to try to maybe get a little urgency talking to the DNR to do that, so we have more than one functioning launch in the park/marina.
right.
But to tail on that, the public landing funding got approved at the state level, so.
At $2 million. So the project was a $2.3 million
Mhm.
project, and it got
Yep.
approved at $2 million.
So that was a little good surprise.
Mhm.
And so it looks like that section of the park master plan, we can start flushing out. And it's not gonna quell these campers' concerns this week, but in the future, it's good news.
For clarification, this launch, because I actually had a question today, there's rumors going around, it is only a launch. We are not adding any slips, correct?
Correct.
Just
That's
a
what I
launch.
thought.
Yep.
Because
And,
somebody
uh,
said, oh, I heard they're adding slips, and I
Nope.
went, no, I don't believe so, but I will get clarification
No.
tonight.
No, and then the first one I'm talking about is right by the Niji, or on the east side of that
Yes.
park. Yep, and that's no more a
Right.
launch.
And then I'm
So-
aware, I knew for the one that we were asking for state funds for, I didn't believe, I thought it was only a
Right.
launch.
Yep.
But they
It's
said, well,
just-
I've heard, and I
it's-
went,
yep.
no.
It's just a launch, and then part of the master plan is that parking lot gets paved with actual good boat, like long trailer parking and good turnarounds. And then the breakwater gets reconstructed a little bit because it's not really doing its job right
Is the launch gonna be in the same spot?
now.
Mhm.
Okay.
And there'll be a little extension on the break wall out there to protect that a little bit.
Actually, give it.
The rock
Safe.
one
Yep.
that's right there?
So when you're sitting there in a
Mhm.
boat before you dock in,
Mhm.
you always get pushed around.
Mhm.
So
Do you know if there's been any conversations with DNR at all about how to compensate for that, kind of loss of that additional funding.
As soon as I heard that we had been approved
Yeah.
for that, I sent a message to the, I copied Dave on it and Mike on it and the DNR folks that we need to be working with, and said that we were really, really happy that we got the money, and that we understand that there will have to be some changes to the plan and because of the budget that was approved, and that we want to set up a time to talk with them about that. And since then, I haven't heard anything about it. So
Was it anticipated that any of that work would happen this year?
it sounds like the DNR response was that it sounds like at this point, no, because that's just like there's no way that we could mobilize a crew of that size to be able to do that work for this season. So some of the prep work might be able to be done this fall, but before we even get to that point, we're gonna have some conversations. We have to have some conversations with the DNR about what that project looked like with $300,000 less. So.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. It's kind of back to the drawing board, but it's a drawing board that we actually have funding for.
Yeah.
So that's a better place to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the $300,000 is gonna take something out of the project, and, you know, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what that means. So, okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
That's it.
Great, Tim.
At the planning commission meeting, in addition to, dealing with the variance request, we also had some more conversation about the first floor lodging issue in the downtown zone district. You may recall that there was a survey sent out to downtown business owners, and it was made available online so that people could kind of respond to kind of the issue and the questions. Patrick went around and talked to downtown business owners that may have not responded to the surveys that were sent out. What did you say, Patrick? We had 65 responses to the survey, so a good number of responses, a lot of good comments. Planning Commission, I think, had a good discussion about the responses, and we also received information from Mike and Patrick regarding other communities that have done some similar things, or at least addressed the issue of lodging in their downtown zone districts, and we kind of took some parts and pieces of some of those, and basically asked Mike and Patrick to come back to our next planning commission meeting with a little more direction and focus from the conversation that the planning commission had, and with information from the other cities that have ordinances, to try to kind of flesh out something that we could actually start working on developing as an ordinance, and present that, so the public, there could be more public comment on it, because it's obviously not just a downtown issue, it's a community issue, and the planning commission wants to make sure we have information that the community can respond to. So our meeting in July, we'll hopefully have additional information, and forward that on to the next step. So,
Great.
Yeah,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay.
7 minutes.
Kelly.
Has not been a meeting at the Y since last time. I do have a question. I know Tim asked last time, and I kind of seconded the question. Have we put out for bids yet on our
Demo.
demo?
Yes,
Yay,
Sweet.
wonderful. When do we have to have those back by, do you know?
by the 15th, Friday.
Of this month? Yay, okay.
So at our next meeting, we should be able to.
Approve those. Great.
Heard lots of comment about that, so.
Oh yeah, I drove past it today, and or the other day, and I was just like, yeah.
Well, and again, I think, one, it's a huge eyesore to people coming into the community, but two, safety issue for us, so I think that's awesome. Thank you, guys, you and Mike both for that, or Patrick. Thank you, office staff, administration. That was important. That's it.
That's it. So this morning there was a downtown business coalition meeting, which largely was debriefing the block party that happened this weekend. And from what I can tell, there are lots of great ideas. A lot of people viewed it as a strong success, and that they'll probably be asking to do something like that next year. There was some rumblings I thought was pretty cool of the potential of combining that event, like moving that event a little bit earlier and then combining it with the Kite Festival. And I thought that seemed like a pretty cool idea. I received a complaint from a member of the community about the planned public water outage, or the PUC's water outage, as they were hooking up the one-roof houses. That it just was a very inconvenient time, and that she felt like it was not properly communicated that the time of the outage was going to change, or that was going to be longer or during a different period of time than what the original announcement was. So I will be communicating.
How
with
many
her
properties
about
were affected by that?
that. Just the ones at the top of the hill, from what I understand.
From Nelson's Cabins to the Ranger District office,
Okay.
and then on Second Street, just in that where one
West.
is.
Yep. So that I got that, and there was a CEC meeting where they jumped in with both feet on discussing issues for the city and are starting to gather information and seeing what they can do to help. So they're very excited about their new role, assisting the city with art stuff and all that. So that's really cool. I don't know if there really was anything else that I did. I've been bouncing a lot from one thing to another, and so there's probably a lot more things that I'm missing. But I think that's everything. So, you have anything? All right. Well, with that said, we are adjourned.
Have a good night,
Thanks, Chris.
everybody.
Good night,
Thank you,
Chris.
Chris. Look at that.